Today I will talk about the secret of communication that makes the other person admire and respect you. In human relationships, it is not the best way to be patient with everything without principles. In fact, you need to set clear principles and boundaries from the beginning, especially with children, spouses, partners, employees, and friends. You need to let them understand your boundaries and absolutely do not cross them. If someone violates them, you need to resolutely confront them and make them pay dearly. What I say may be difficult to hear and not easy to absorb. So remember to follow until the end to understand more clearly. Ancient education greets you and everyone. First of all, remember that if you give in to someone for a long time, it does not mean that they will reciprocate your feelings. On the contrary, you may only receive increasing rudeness from them because people are greedy and many people tend to climb on the heads of kind people. For example, Vo Dai Lang treated Kim Lean's fans very kindly and well, so much so that it moved the heavens. In reality, there is a famous star. Mr. X and his wife's name is Y. Everyone knows this story, right? Mr. X treats Mrs. Y very thoughtfully and devotedly, but what is the result? These loves do not receive a corresponding response from the other side, but on the contrary, you only receive increasing pain. Of course, this does not mean that you should not love, but love with strategies and methods. Treating someone well requires strategies and methods. When you are too good to someone, you can only receive pain for yourself. Why is it like this? It is not that the child changes, but that these interaction patterns are not planned by the child. These patterns are actually formed by their classmates, teachers, mothers, fathers, and grandparents. A child at SB age, all their expressions are the most basic expression of their human nature. There is no concept of good and evil, beauty and ugliness, nor have they learned to be fake, but only expressed the most basic nature of human nature in the most honest way. To understand better, let me give an example. When my son was in the first grade of elementary school, he had completely different way of treating people around like friends, relatives, and best friends. It is very studious. If there is any delicious food at home, it will automatically bring it to you to eat, but when facing its mother, it is very stingy. Why is it like that? Because its mother spoils it too much. With its mother, it is used to receiving without having to respond, so why should it respond? So with its mother, it forms the habit of receiving without having to respond. But with friends, it is different. It has to respond by sharing food and toys to be able to play with its friends, so it has to respond. This is very reasonable. If it does not respond, it will lose those friends, so it is used to having to respond in order to receive. If it is a mother who is raising a child, she will probably start to sweat. It is cold, but do not rush. The play has just begun. Next, let's see how my son and I are related. For an expert in building interactive models like me, Dealing with him is like brushing away a mosquito in front of me. He does not dare to make any mistakes at all. Is a model student, a wonderful filial child. I just need a look. It immediately, obediently, and discreetly split up everything. Why is it like that? Because it is afraid of being punished. I punish it from spirit to body to material in the relationship between me and it. I have set painful marks hard to fade. For example, once it dared to talk back to me, I punished it like this, forbidding it from watching TV for 10 days, forbidding it from playing with toys for 10 days, forbidding it from playing with friends for 10 days, only allowed to stay home to do homework, physically punished for standing for 10 hours, physically forbidden to buy snacks for 10 days, punished like that twice. It understands that in front of its father cannot make any mistakes. If it makes a mistake, it will have to suffer serious consequences. So in the relationship with me, it forms a habit of making mistakes, will have to pay a very high price. And for me to treat it badly, first it has to treat me well. Every time I punish my son, my grandmother comes to my defense saying I shouldn't punish children like that, and then scolds me in return. Very indulgent porridge, buy all kinds of toys, delicious food, basically indulge whatever the child wants. What is the result? This child completely disrespects the grandmother, often argues back and yells rudely with the grandmother. Later, the grandmother realizes that doing so is not okay. Everything got out of control when I punished. No one intervened. The truth is, in the relationship between husband and wife, partners, leaders, and employees all have such interaction patterns. The way people around you treat you is actually created by you. How to build interaction patterns. The first core principle to build interaction patterns is to establish boundaries in human relationships. Not just tolerating everything without principles is the best way. In fact, you need to establish clear principles and boundaries from the beginning, especially with children, spouses, partners, employees, friends. You need to let them understand your boundaries and absolutely do not cross them. If someone violates, you need to firmly confront them and make them pay dearly. Why good people do not receive good things is because you are so good that you no longer have principles and limits. Even the other party has violated your principles and limits. You still try to smile and endure. This only makes the other party grow up because they have absolutely no idea how much you care about this. It is not their fault, but your fault. Like I often say, you cannot take care of your children for the rest of your life. You do not let them develop the habit of being taken care of. You cannot pamper your wife for the rest of your life. You do not let her develop the habit of being pampered. You have let her develop the habit of being pampered, but you cannot continue. There will definitely be problems arising. Tell about a story around me. I have a friend, when he first got married, his wife was very good, the type of good wife and good mother, but my friend pampered his wife so much that it was unbelievable. At first, when we went to his house, I ate dinner my friend's wife cooked. He volunteered to go into the kitchen to help his wife. He helped more and more. At first, he only washed the knife. Then he cooked 2 dishes. My friend's wife cooked 2 dishes and then came back. When we came to eat dinner, my friend's wife directly told him to go into the kitchen to cook. The wife sometimes went to the backyard and said a few things before going in. In the end, she did nothing at all. My friend made the meals and he also washed the dishes. I also clearly noticed the change in my friend's wife's temperament. She seemed a bit dependent towards him. My friend only smiled and did not show any opposition. He was really a good husband. Actually, both of them were at fault. One wanted to give and the other wanted to receive. It didn't matter. As long as they were happy, that was fine. But the result was not like that. A while ago, my friend called me. His voice was extremely angry and said that he had beaten his wife and wanted a divorce. I was startled. I asked what the situation was. He said, "You know, I've been married to her for so many years now. I've always pampered her. She loves her and she got married. 10 years I tolerated her, 10 years I hate cooking the most, but because of her for the past 10 years I cook every day. The children are also taken to school by me every day. Her mood is getting worse and worse, often yelling at me. I can't stand it anymore, so I hit her. I really can't stand this woman anymore. I tell you, first, don't argue. People today are like this, isn't it? Because of you alone created it. What do you have to be sad about now if you can't accept cooking and taking care of children? Can't accept her yelling at you when you first started being together? Why didn't you say you've been patient for 10 years now? You say you can't stand it anymore. Why didn't you refuse from the beginning? You gave her 10 years to develop the habit. Now you want people to change. How to change? Say more. At your age, the children are grown. If you divorce, what will happen to the children after hearing what he said now? What should I do? I say then continue to be patient. If you have been patient for 10 years, then you should be patient for life. In fact, this is the worst consequence when there is no specific RHGOI. No one can blame anyone, only yourself. So if you have now formed a fixed long-term interaction pattern with some people around you, I advise you not to rush to break it. Consider whether you currently have enough strength or not. Does the other party really need you? Because the interaction pattern has been formed for a long time. If you want to break it, it will definitely cause fierce confrontation. Of course, if you have enough advantages and the other party cannot live without you, you can break this interaction pattern, but that process will definitely be very fierce. You need to prepare yourself mentally, but if you do not break it and continue to maintain it, you need to think about whether you can endure it. Because the more you endure, the worse the other party will become. Is it more painful? If you cannot endure in a situation where you have enough advantages, I advise you to break it sooner or later. The harder it will be to get to the second point. 2. Let's talk about establishing pain points and pleasure points, especially the first time something happens that touches your limit. You must make the other person form a pain point. This is very important. What does it mean? Let's continue with a real story. For example, when my wife and I first started together, the interaction pattern at that time, it was not formed at that time. It was a process of struggle. I advise everyone in the southern dating stage to try to give in and be tolerant of the girl. Because in the dating stage you do not have any advantage after marriage. When your advantage gradually becomes greater, you need to readjust the interaction pattern compared to the dating stage. During the dating period, you hang around her every day. She sometimes acts like a princess or a young lady. You can still pamper her. That is the atmosphere. Love after marriage. Men need to do business. If the girl still maintains the interaction pattern like dating stage, sometimes getting angry like a princess is really not good for men, and Family's women also do not have any opinion with me. Want a happy life? Women need to understand that dating is a TV show and marriage is a documentary. Dating is just a performance of two people. New marriage return to reality. Not understanding is okay. Life and time will prove what I say. So women, if there is any request for men, must definitely make it before marriage. After marriage it is difficult, so after marriage you need to gradually adjust the interaction pattern between you and that girl. For example, after my wife and I just got married, she once told me, "Cooking rice, I know clearly if I start cooking later this will almost become my responsibility and more housework will become mine. I am not that I do not want to do housework, but my career does not allow me to spend time on those things, so I have to create a deep, painful memory for her about this, so she remembers forever." So I told her to cook, but she didn't want to at that time. The fight started then. I got angry fiercely, even broke the cup, making the matter serious. Then I said that I was busy with work, no time for these things. If you can't cook any meals, we don't need to be together. Tomorrow I will file for divorce. She said divorce, then divorce. This matter caused noise for 2 days, bothering her parents. They all came to advise. In the end she was tired and thought that just because of cooking a meal, divorce is too expensive, and with the time and energy spent in those 2 days, how many meals can be cooked? In the end she gave in every time she cooked herself. After a while this became a habit. In 10 years of marriage, except for holidays, I never cooked for holidays. I volunteered to cook once. She was so touched. She praised me for being a good husband. Today there is delicious food to eat. You didn't hear wrong, that's the truth. And we also no more arguing about who will cook rice, because in this incident I have created a deep pain point in her mind, and after every time she cooks I praise that it is really delicious. My wife cooks very well. This creates a happy point for her. Under the double effect of the pain point and the happy point, we have formed a fixed interaction pattern. In this, cooking rice is her job, and she never feels that she is disadvantaged because cooking rice has become an automatic action and her reaction. Now she studies about food every day, and the feelings between us are very good. So you ask me that announcement 10 years ago, was it really angry? For sure it was a strategic announcement. The so-called EQ is definitely not never angry, but knowing how to be angry strategically. You can express your anger, but you cannot be angry expressively. Expressing one is a strategic action, one is a stupid action without thinking. When you face different people in different situations before different events, you need to use different emotions. In business also, the boss needs to create a model of interaction between partners. Management needs to create a model of interaction between yourself and the team. If the model of interaction is not built well, you will easily be taken advantage of by subordinates. The most effective method to create a model of interaction between partners is through arguing. Partners who do not argue cannot do business well, and the sooner they argue the better. Why many friends and relatives who have a good relationship when starting a business together break up? Because at first they do not argue, later they will argue uncontrollably. Because if they do not argue from the beginning, that means there is definitely someone who is patient, and decisions without debate will easily go wrong. Actually, teaching people and teaching dogs are the same. You read the story below and understand its spirit. One day I bought a small dog and named it Little Black. I called Little Black. It did not come. I called again. Still, what to do now? So I bought a piece of ribs, held the ribs, and called Xiao Hei. It came continuously for a month. I used the ribs to call it. Every time I called Xiao Hei, it came. After a month I didn't hold the ribs anymore. I called Xiao Hei. It happily ran over with its tail wagging, but I discovered it liked to lie at the door, not in its nest. What to do? So I put some thorny plants at the door. Every time it lay down, it would get stung. I also put some ribs in its nest, so it taught itself not to lie at the door anymore, but in its nest. Then I took the thorny plant at the door and also took the bones in its nest, but it still consciously lay in tea, not in the door anymore. Without knowing, when I created an interaction pattern between it and me. Do you understand? Remember, the best time to create an interaction pattern is the first time you meet, because at that time the other person doesn't understand. You don't know how to communicate with you. The best time to break the interaction pattern is when you have enough advantage. The other party cannot live without you. Make me cannot live without you. Who cannot live without who? That person will suffer. You cannot live without them. You will suffer. They cannot live without you. They will suffer. Your success in business, happiness in the family, all come from your irreplaceability. The precious law of this world is becoming clearer when you are not strong enough. You want a small opportunity, but there is no when you are strong enough in front of you. There are thousands of opportunities you cannot refuse. When you are excellent enough in everything, you want will automatically come to you. Take advantage is human nature. Even between parents and children, if you are excellent, parents will love you more. The nature of this society is your reward is not based on the effort you put in, but on the irreplaceability of that effort. You must remember your value is not your salary, but your irreplaceability. In the eyes of your boss, only when you can replace your new salary cannot increase. If in marriage you only rely on beauty and body to attract husband, over time there will always be more beautiful people appear, and the third person will also appear. There are women, when facing husband cheating, is not crying and making noise, but rather taking care of the family more. Cultivate themselves, make the family tidy themselves, become more attractive. Children are loved after a while. When the new feeling of husband towards the third person passes, return home and see the warm, happy family. Still cannot bear to abandon. Finally return to his family. Of course, some people say, I cannot do, he cheated, but I still have to serve him. Why is that? First reflect on yourself to see where the problem is, then decide to stay or leave. If you in marriage do not have irreplaceability, then remarriage also does not have much meaning. The same problem will still appear. In the labor market, there are too many people easily replaced, being replaced by younger people, by machines and systems. The new system. Tran Vu once said that workers need to ask themselves 3 questions. Question 1. Can the work I am doing be done by machines? Question 2. Can the work I am doing be outsourced? Question 3. Will the work I am doing develop in the future? The answers to these questions may make you depressed, but that is not a reason for you not to think about them. Bika. Use being asked better questions than being slapped in the face by reality. Many times we will assume that our income is related to our education level, our ability, our previous achievements, but in fact these are all big misconceptions. How much money we can earn in this life actually has nothing to do with our education level, our emotions, or previous achievements, only have to do with our irreplaceability. When deciding to pay you, they have a scale. On the left side of the scale is your current salary. On the right side of the scale is the benefit you can bring to the company. present time note here, there are two keywords. First is at present time is not your contribution a year ago, is not your total previous contribution, but your contribution at present time. Second word is benefit, is not how your relationship is nor how your character is. If now you receive a salary of 10 million, but the job you do someone else can do it for only 5 million, then I will replace you even though we had a good relationship in the past, even though you used to earn 1 billion for the company. But sorry, your value at present can be replaced, then replacement is necessary. This is very cruel but completely reasonable. We have too many people who have this big taboo in work, is always considering past contributions as what we should receive now. When we don't receive, we start to resent, feeling that others owe us. Actually, it's because you don't understand the rules of society. Remember that as long as the other person has a choice, choose better. Abandoning you is extremely normal. You blame them for not caring about feelings without morality, this and that. In the end, feel sad and angry just because you are immature. For example, we used to use Nokia, right? No feelings for Nokia, right? But when the iPhone came out, didn't you also switch to iPhone? I used to like using Nokia, then like Samsung, then liked Huawei, now like Xiaomi more. You can say I'm promiscuous. Don't say simply if the employee intends to leave you but can't earn the same treatment as when working at your place. Naturally, no matter what you do, they won't go. Customers leave you but can't buy products with the same price and value as yours. Naturally, they will proactively run back and pay you. So come here, understand, everyone who leaves you, give up, you hurt you, whether employee, customer, spouse, partner, all are not their fault. All are natural results of you not having irreplaceability, except you. No one in this world can hurt you as long as you can replace. Your life will surely suffer as long as you have irreplaceability. Your life will surely be happy in the palace. All the concubines were hurt by the emperor, but is there any concubine who can hurt the emperor? Because the emperor is the only one in the eyes of all the concubines, while all the concubines are just one of the people in the eyes of the emperor. In real life, between you and the people around you, is there concubine or emperor? If others can easily replace you, have you or not, they don't lose anything, but you don't have them, then you are completely finished, a big loss. Then you can imagine how scary it is. Many men use the so-called I raise you to turn women into useless concubines, while they themselves out there every day develop and progress to become emperor. Comfortable now, wife officially cannot live without him, because no skills to live together, can only endure losing the freedom of spirit. You know why your husband has a temper and does not listen to you, but you still have to submit to titch. Do you know why in the company there are some good people always go against you, and you cannot do anything about them because they are very clear? Without you they still live well, but you without them cannot play, so they naturally have to show that attitude. It is inevitable in a family. Who speaks louder when arguing is the person who contributes the most to the family. In a company, who is the thorn in the eye dares to confront the boss? That is the indispensable person of the company, and that person also complains angry every day, demanding rights. You put yourself in such a passive situation is not worthy, whether it is family management or team management. Don't say anything else. The most effective way is 5 words: you have been fired. It is simple, but you dare to say no when you have no value, cannot replace. So what to do is to be patient, to flatter, to accumulate advantages quickly when you cannot manage on your own without the other party. You can only be patient. For example, Liu Bang in Chinese history at the Hongmen banquet had to be patient with Xiang Yu to save his life. At the banquet, Liu Bang maximized his expression of affection. even though Xiangyu attacked and scolded him many times. Liu Bang still endured, making himself inferior and wanting to marry Xiangyu's daughter, making Xiangyu feel that Liu Bang was just a slave without any qualifications and ambitions, so that Liu Bang could have a way to live. When you manage a team, for those with great advantages, you need to first flatter, then overthrow, first be patient, then destroy. When you yourself do not have the advantage, you need to be patient, flatter, then improve your ability, and most importantly, you need to develop new people, train new people, make irreplaceable people. When the other party can replace them and you cannot replace them, you can no longer be patient, need to be strong to solve them. How do you have the number one irreplaceable value ability? Overwhelming. When I work as a salesperson in the company every month, I am always the top salesperson of the company. Naturally, the boss will favor me a little bit because half of the company's sales are made by me. Other employees only have 4 days off every month while I can take 8 days off a month. How do I have such strong sales ability? Because when I first came to the company, other people had 4 days off every month, while I didn't take a day off a month continuously for half a year without taking a day off. Others worked in the morning or evening shift. I worked from morning to night. The result is I have the most contact with customers. My number of sales is also the most. Naturally, my ability to accumulate is also the strongest. Number 2, material overwhelming use time for feelings to make money. Have money, then feelings will naturally come. Yes, whether you agree or not, this is the truth. I am busy every day with work and teaching all over the country, rarely at home, also rarely spend time with son. Usually son is taken care of by his mother. But a few days ago, he had an essay assignment asking to write about a relative in the family. He wrote about my father loves me very much. After I finished reading it, all surprised, why not write about mom? Obviously mom loves him more, because he obviously all the toys are bought by me. Game number 3, perception. Overwhelming perception is how you perceive things. 2 monkeys fight fiercely over a banana while someone picks up the diamond next to it and goes away. Monkeys are not incapable of taking the diamond, but from beginning to end they do not think the diamond is more valuable than the banana. Most people only see the surface of things without seeing the truth inside. For example, most people are interested in feelings, but in fact, feelings are just the surface. The benefits behind are the truth. For example, during the epidemic, why divorce rates skyrocket? Is it emotional problems flare up? The truth is the epidemic makes many men poorer. How to improve awareness? First, experience reality. Second, be guided by wise people. Third, high quality learning. The ultimate competition between people is the competition of awareness. Which class your awareness is in determines which class you live and how much wealth you own.